me up. My wife is crying upstairs. I hear cars coming to the house. Consigliere of mine, I think you should tell your Don what everyone seems to know.
I didn't tell Mama anything. I was about to come up and wake you just now and tell you.
But you needed a drink first.
Yeah.
And now you've had your drink.
They shot Sonny on the causeway. He's dead.
The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, is widely known as the greatest American film of all time. Now, there are plenty of essays on YouTube, plenty of videos, articles, documentaries, books written about why this phenomenal film has been timeless in its impact, enigmatic in its creation, and indelible in its memory. I'm not going to do a video about why the film is great. I'm going to isolate and hone in on the acting. Why is the acting in this film so great? What makes the cast, their choices, and the moments that were created on set timeless and unforgettable? Welcome to Anytown Actors Lab, where we dive into acting and we ask ourselves, what makes a performance great? How did they do it? And how can you do it as well? We're going to talk about the cast, what the training background was for each of the actors, how they created these unforgettable moments, and how you can do acting that's just as good as the quality of acting that was displayed in this timeless classic. Marlon Brando was trained by Stella Adler. Al Pacino was at the Actors Studio, trained by Lee Strasberg. Diane Keaton, Robert Duvall, and James Caan studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse under the tutelage of Sanford Meisner. What do these teachers have in common? Each of them was a member of the group theater, started by Harold Clurman, Lee Strasberg, and Cheryl Crawford in the 30s. The group theater is solely responsible for ushering in and pioneering a new approach to acting in America, influenced by what Konstantin Stanislavski and Nemirovich Danchenko did in Russia. The group theater was responsible for putting up plays that introduced to the theater-going public in America what truthful, authentic, and believable performance looked like. And for the 10 or so years that they trained and studied, theorized, and put into practice these principles that changed acting forever, they were solidifying an approach to authenticity in the art form that would permeate generations to come. When the group theater disbanded at the end of the Great Depression, these three teachers, Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, and Lee Strasberg, were responsible for training the majority of this incredible cast of The Godfather.
The thing is, it was like a blank slate in here. I didn't know what it would be. I still don't know what's coming up. It's like everything else. Nothing in life is what you seem to think was supposed to be, the cliched idea. It's not like what you see on TV. And that's what's great about good movies and good acting, is that it's never what is that idea of what it's supposed to be.
Because I went to the Neighborhood Playhouse. Sandy Meisner was our teacher. He would just say, what you're doing is not real. What are you doing? And then I would have to do, well, what do you mean, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm trying to be good with this partner here. And then wait, so that he really taught us. He was an incredible teacher, how to live truthfully in the given imaginary, situation.
When you work with a script, you know what's next, but you try to go in not knowing what's next. So it's as if the first time you do it, every time you do it. So that way you try to come in and delete the sense of relying on preconceptions and with the moment. The moment is the thing. The moment is the thing. In the moment. In the moment. What's next? What's next?
You can't study your lines in a mirror and the night before, because you're never going to be available to what the guy's going to say to you, you know. So I've studied my thing, and so if I kiss him or slap him, he's going to give me the reaction he had in the mirror that night. So he's not available to me, right? So availability would probably be number one.
One of the first authentic people that I and most of us had ever met in our lives. One nice thing about dealing with people from the Playhouse is that they've been trained viscerally, ineluctably, to put their attention on something other than themselves.
In this rehearsal period, I'm working with exercises which are the basic training exercises that I learned having to do with the Stanislavski system, or as it's sometimes known in this country, the method, or the method of physical action. And I learned them from Sandy Meisner, who learned them from Bill Esper, who learned them from Richard Boleslavsky, who learned them from Stanislavski. The basic idea is that one only has so much concentration. If your concentration's on yourself, it can't be on your object. It can't be on what you're trying to achieve on the stage. If your concentration is on something else, it can't be on yourself because you only have that much. As Freud said, a man with a toothache can't be in love. And so what these exercises are designed to do are not to force the concentration, but for each actor to put the concentration on something more interesting at that moment than him or herself, that object being the person with whom they're dealing at that moment.
But he was trained by Sanford Meisner, who said this: acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. The foundation of acting is the reality of doing.
I think what makes a good play is a protagonist who wants something vehemently and is going to set out to get it. Whether that's Hamlet finding out who killed his father, or Oedipus finding out what's the cause of the plague on Thebes, or Nora in A Doll's House finding out how she can live as an oppressed woman in a man's world, or Anna Christie finding out what she can do to get her father to take her back.
The foundation of acting is the reality of doing. You can see those two definitions complement each other. They have their root and their basis in the foundation of life. To live truthfully under imaginary circumstances is the point and the goal of acting. These were the foundational principles of the group theater. These were the foundational principles of what Stella Adler, Lee Strasberg, Sanford Meisner were trying to instill and teach from, carrying the legacy and the torch of authentic performance. We have it exemplified perfectly in this film here, The Godfather. Why are they so good? Every single clip in this film that was ultimately used in telling this story is truthful. What does truthful mean? It means it's believable. It doesn't look like acting. It looks like these people are really going through something and really struggling to achieve some specific goal, scene to scene, or over the course of the film. And that's why we watch, because we understand as people, as audience members, something is true about life, and we respond to life when it is believable, when it is authentic. When we see that something is fake or forced or artificial, or just sounds like lines being read, we get distracted, we don't get into the story, there's no emotional response elicited except maybe disappointment, and we turn it off and scroll on our phones. Sanford Meisner said, technique is a means to an end. So essentially what he's saying is, however you can find a way to believe what it is that you do through your choices, however you can figure out a way to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances, which is to say, be believable, the foundation of which is to do something with reality. However you can do that is how you can do acting of this same caliber. So how can you do this? Start to look at life as the best teacher of acting around you and ask yourself, are people always in the midst of activity? Are people always doing something to achieve something? Start to really observe yourself and others in life. How do they operate psychologically? How does that manifest in their behavior? That's one step. Another step that you can take is to ask yourself very serious questions about what you love, what you hate, what you fear, what you desire. Why do you do what you do? I want you to take the information that's been discussed in this video and to really mull it over and do your own research. Is it really true? What does it mean to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances? I always invite my students, just like I was invited by my teachers, to do my own research. So I challenge you to do that too. Any acting performance that you really love, that made an impression on you, that stuck with you, or that belongs to a film that you just keep watching over and over, I want you to ask yourself the question, do these same principles apply to that film as well? So many acting classes that I've been in the past that didn't work, or that other people have experienced, is a teacher handing you a scene and saying, do it really well. But what does that mean? This is not about an opinion. It's about establishing an approach to acting that's instinctual, rooted in something real, so that when you behave, you are behaving in a way that not only you believe it, because if you believe it, they'll believe it, but also moves someone that's unpredictable, founded in reality, that has an emotional truth to it, that's in response to life around you, that you're always in the moment and not in your head. Come back and comment if you found some movies that are also following these same principles, that have incredible performances that are unforgettable, that made an impact on you. And if it's true that these principles are timeless, and that back in the 1890s in Russia, or the 1930s in America, or 1971 when these actors were performing in this film and we were ultimately seeing it as an audience for the first time, are these principles the things that don't go out of style? That it's not about following a trend or a fad, because what comes fast goes fast. If you want to develop a long-lasting approach to acting that's rooted in your instinct, let life teach you things that are undeniably true, so that you can build an acting foundation with confidence. Anybody can get a job, but not everybody can develop a career. Something that isn't talked about enough in some of these great performances is how an actor chooses to relate themselves to the material. This can be done a number of ways, but a really effective tool to use that you have right now at your disposal, that you don't need to go get from a class, is your imagination. Stanislavski called it the magic as if. Meisner called it the particularization. Others have called it substitution or parallel, or how do you connect yourself to the material? It's by using that word if to say, what would this be like for me? It's literally the act of empathy that actors are involved in, real actors are involved in on a daily basis. In Leo Tolstoy's 1897 essay, What is Art? He said this: art is a means of communion, whose loftiest goal was to unify humanity through expressing the loftiest and best feelings people have attained in life. Tolstoy believed that the artist could infect the spectator, transmitting the former's feelings to the latter, creating communion. Stanislavski later wrote that when performing, the artist conveys the life of the human spirit itself that flows like an underwater current under the external facts of a play. How you choose to relate yourself to what you do in the scene, which is the foundation of truthful acting, is going to ultimately help the audience be infected by the emotional realism produced by that choice. Let me give you an example. Stella Adler's student, Marlon Brando, when he was in A Streetcar Named Desire, was working on personalizing the violence needed to access when playing Stanley Kowalski. When the film came out, people said, well, that's just how Brando was. He was very violent. In reality, if you peel back the layers on who he was, he really didn't like violence. And his father was violent towards his mother, and he wanted to stand up to him and did at times. And when he knew he needed to access that side of himself, which would require him to truthfully embody the moment, right? To do the thing with reality that he has to do in this scene, it was more so connecting himself to the defense, coming to the defense of the helpless, that prompted his response and reaction as a brutal husband. Checking in with yourself, knowing yourself well, but also having an activized imagination can help lead you to bridging the gap so that you can have communion not only with the part and yourself, but also that will ultimately translate or transmit itself to the audience, that you will feel and see and witness what the characters are going through and feeling, so that you can be invested and be moved by the performances. These are timeless principles that are not just happening in one class, or that we're a part of just one genius actor or a set of geniuses that get cast in a film. This is because the ways in which they trained, the principles of those ways, were founded and rooted in these principles of life. That you are looking at something that has nothing to do with you, another life, and saying, what would that be like for me? And if you can ask yourself that question, and you can practice doing that, relating yourself to the given circumstances, then you can start to believe what you do. If you have something to do, you can do it with reality. And if you try to do it with reality, you will have to be in the moment. Every single one of these actors exhibits those traits. Very moment to moment, very connected, very lived in, doing things with reality and emotionally responding to that which they do or the obstacles in which they encounter to achieve a specific acute goal. And now I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. If you want to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me, I train actors all over the world via Zoom one-on-one. I don't do any group Zoom classes, and you can only train with me for a maximum of 6 months. Why do I do that? It's about actually treating you, the actor, as if you were me, because I'm trying to be for others what I wish was there for me when I was first starting out. The timeless principles of acting and of art need not be extinct, but the torch that was started by Stanislavski and was passed on through the group theater with Clermont and Cheryl Crawford and Lee Strasberg and Elia Kazan and Sanford Meisner and Stella Adler, which was then passed on to the students like Marlon Brando and Robert Duvall and Diane Keaton, Al Pacino, James Caan, are continuing to inspire people like you and me today. And if you want to be a part of that same legacy, the legacy that is intended to serve humanity through authentic and truthful performance that elicit real emotional response from audiences, because the foundations are rooted in life, call me up. We can schedule a free 30-minute consultation. I do them with people all over the world. I would be more than happy to share with you what I've learned, to hear what you are struggling with or what your goals happen to be. And I can take you through what I've been able to impart to dozens and dozens of other actors. Have a discussion about how can you become better faster? How can you become an actor who's very truthful? And how can you learn something that's actually effective? If you want that, just email actorslab@anytownpictures.com. I'd be happy to set it up with you as early as tomorrow or this week. Subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching this video.